The Grand Hall of the Galactic Council was a sight to behold, an architectural marvel of swirling lights and shimmering panels that seemed to hum with the energy of 1,000 worlds. Delegates from every corner of the galaxy sat in their designated zones, their unique forms glowing, shimmering, or simply staring with interest. Today, they weren't here for routine discussions of trade routes or interstellar treaties. Today, they were here to welcome the newest members of the galaxy's most exclusive club, humans. Captain Elaine Hayes stood at the center of the vast chamber, feeling the weight of millions of eyes on her. Dressed in Earth's finest ceremonial uniform, she held her head high, her expression calm and confident. Behind her, a holographic display projected images of Earth, its blue oceans and green lands spinning slowly in space, a fragile but beautiful world. "Welcome, humans," boomed a deep voice. It came from the towering representative of the Galactic, a species of crystalline entities whose forms sparkled under the hall's lights. Ambassador Threx, their leader, had a tone that sounded polite, but carried an edge of condescension. "It is a rare event for a young species to ascend to this council. Your planet's survival against its many challenges is admirable." Polite chuckles echoed from other representatives. Elaine clenched her fists subtly. She knew what they meant. To the galaxy's elder races, humans were a joke, a species that had only recently mastered space travel and still relied on primitive technology. Earth was seen as little more than a backwater curiosity. "We thank the Council for this opportunity," Elaine said, her voice steady. "Humanity has worked hard to reach this moment, and we are honored to join this alliance of great civilizations." The ambassador of the Select, a floating jellyfish-like creature, pulsed in amusement. "And yet, your ships remain among the slowest in the galaxy. I believe your latest model still relies on chemical propulsion for atmospheric exits." How quaint. Laughter rippled through the chamber. Elaine felt the heat rise in her cheeks, but forced herself to smile. Let them laugh, she thought. They had no idea what humanity was capable of. Another delegate, a bird like Etruvian with gleaming feathers, leaned forward. "Captain Hayes, tell us, what does your species hope to achieve with membership here? Surely you realize how far behind you are in terms of technology, culture, and understanding of the galaxy's complexities." Elaine met the Etruvian's gaze without flinching. "We hope to learn from you, of course. But more importantly, we hope to contribute. Humanity has a unique way of solving problems. We adapt, we innovate, and we rise to challenges." Her words were met with a mixture of amusement and skepticism. The elder races had seen dozens of young species try to rise too fast, only to burn out or collapse under their own ambitions. To them, humanity was no different. "Let us not waste more time on formalities," Threx interjected, gesturing grandly. "Earth is now a provisional member of the Galactic Council. With time, you may earn full membership, assuming you survive the trials ahead." His crystalline form sparkled ominously. "But do not mistake this for an invitation to challenge the natural order. The older species exist at the top for a reason." Elaine nodded diplomatically but remained silent. She had no intention of arguing today. Instead, she let the council dismiss her, bowing slightly before exiting the chamber. As she stepped out into the quieter corridors of the council's star station, her calm facade slipped for a moment. She exhaled, rubbing her temples. "Captain Hayes," a voice called. She turned to see Lieutenant Aria Novak, her second in command, hurrying toward her. "How did it go?" Elaine smirked. "As expected. They think we're a joke." Novak frowned. "And they just laughed at us." "Oh, they did. But that's fine." Elaine's eyes glinted with a spark of determination. "They won't be laughing for long." Novak tilted her head, curious. "Do you mean the project?" Elaine nodded. "Dr. Mehta sent word this morning. The prototype's almost ready. If it works." She paused, allowing the gravity of her words to sink in. "If it works, Novak, we'll rewrite the rules of space travel. The Council thinks we're behind, because we don't follow their methods. But that's exactly why we'll surprise them." Novik smiled, a mixture of pride and excitement lighting her face. "When do we tell them?" "We don't," Elaine said firmly. "Not until we're ready to show them. Let them underestimate us for now. It's their greatest mistake." As the two walked down the corridor, the massive window beside them revealed Earth hanging in the distance, a small but vibrant dot among the stars. Elaine couldn't help but feel a swell of pride. Humanity had always been the underdog, scrappy and stubborn. And now, in the vastness of the galaxy, they had the chance to prove that no challenge was too great. It wasn't about where humanity started. It was about where they were going. And Elaine knew, deep down, that Earth was destined to leave its mark on the stars. Captain Elaine Hayes leaned against the wall of the underground laboratory, her arms crossed as she studied the chaotic scene before her. Scientists darted between glowing monitors, and engineers shouted instructions while sparks flew from a welding station in the corner. The air hummed with energy and intention. This was humanity's beating heart of innovation, a top-secret facility hidden beneath the Rockies. "Captain Hayes," a voice called from behind her. Elaine turned to see Dr. Rajesh Mehta approaching. He was a wiry man with unkempt hair, his lab coat streaked with grease and scorch marks. Despite his disheveled appearance, his sharp eyes gleamed with excitement. "Doctor," Elaine said, giving him a small nod. "You said you had something to show me." Mehta grinned, gesturing for her to follow. "Something? Captain, what I have is revolutionary. It will change everything." Elaine followed him to the central table, where a hologram flickered to life. The image showed a sleek, needle-like design, unlike any starship humanity had ever built. Its core glowed faintly, pulsing like a heartbeat. "This," Mehta began, pointing to the hologram, "is the Erebus drive, a faster-than-light propulsion system based on quantum tunneling and exotic matter manipulation." Elaine raised an eyebrow. "You're going to have to simplify that, Doctor." Mehta chuckled, rubbing the back of his neck. "Right. Think of it like this. Instead of bending space or creating wormholes like the aliens do, we use quantum mechanics to jump between 2 points instantly. We exploit the probability of a particle existing in multiple places at once. With the right setup, we can make an entire ship do the same." "Sounds impossible," Elaine admitted, though her curiosity was piqued. "It's not," Mehta said, his tone sharp. "It's just that no one else fought to try. The Council species rely on their wormhole tech, but they've become complacent. They stopped experimenting because they already have their solution. But we, humans, we think differently." Elaine leaned in closer, studying the hologram. "So, what's the catch?" Mehta sighed, his enthusiasm dimming slightly. "The catch is that it's untested. Theoretical models work, but building a real functional drive requires resources we're just barely scraping together. And even if we succeed, the first test could fail spectacularly. But if it works, we'll have the fastest ship in history." Elaine finished, her eyes narrowing in thought. "Faster than anything the Council can imagine," Mehta confirmed, his voice brimming with hope. Elaine straightened, crossing her arms again. "How long until the prototype is ready?" "A few weeks, if nothing goes wrong," Mehta said, then quickly added, "But things always go wrong." "Then you'll work harder to make sure they don't," Elaine said firmly. "The Council thinks we're nothing but primitives playing with fire. Let's prove them wrong." Mehta nodded, his determination renewed. "We will. But Captain, there's something you need to know." Elaine tilted her head. "What is it?" "We've detected unusual activity near Earth's orbit," Mehta said, lowering his voice. "Alien ships, small, stealthy. We think someone from the Council is watching us. Maybe more than watching." Elaine's jaw tightened. "Sabotage. It's a possibility," Mehta admitted. "If they think we're building something that could threaten their status quo, they might try to stop us before we even get started." Elaine stared at the hologram, her mind racing. Humanity had always been underestimated, but this was different. If the Council felt threatened, they wouldn't hesitate to crush Earth's ambitions. "We'll need increased security," she said finally. "Double the patrols around this facility. Make sure no one gets in or out without clearance, and keep the project under wraps. The fewer people who know about it, the better." Meta nodded. Understood. Elaine turned back to the hologram, her expression unreadable. "Doctor, if this works, we won't just be proving ourselves to the Council. We'll be changing humanity's place in the galaxy forever." Meta smiled, his excitement returning. "That's the plan, Captain." As the days passed, the project consumed the entire team. Engineers worked around the clock to build the sleek hull of the prototype, while scientists refined the calculations needed to stabilize the Erebus drive. Every breakthrough was celebrated, every setback met with grim determination. Meanwhile, Elaine kept a watchful eye on the skies. Reports of strange energy signatures near Earth grew more frequent, and her paranoia deepened. She couldn't shake the feeling that someone, or something, was waiting for the right moment to strike. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, and the lab was bathed in the glow of monitors, Elaine received a message from an encrypted channel. She recognized the voice immediately. "Captain Hayes," the message said. "This is Commander Novak. We've detected an unauthorized ship entering Earth's orbit. It's cloaked, but we've managed to track its movements. Orders." Elaine's stomach tightened. The aliens were here, just as Meta had predicted. "Keep them under surveillance," she replied. "But don't engage unless they make the first move. We can't risk exposing the project yet." As the transmission ended, Elaine looked out through the narrow window of the lab, her gaze fixed on the stars. Humanity's future rested on a knife's edge. They were on the verge of greatness, but one wrong step could bring everything crashing down. Still, she wasn't afraid. Humanity had faced impossible odds before, and won. This time would be no different. "Let them watch," she muttered under her breath. "We'll give them a show they'll never forget." The Erebus drive prototype was nearing completion, and the lab buzzed with a mixture of excitement and exhaustion. Engineers fine-tuned the Starship's sleek hull, while scientists worked tirelessly to perfect the quantum calculations that would power humanity's greatest gamble. Captain Elaine Hayes stood at the observation platform, overlooking the nearly completed vessel. It was beautiful, a gleaming marvel of human ingenuity, unlike anything else in the galaxy. Yet, as proud as she felt, a deep unease gnawed at her. The reports of cloaked alien ships near Earth's orbit had not stopped. In fact, they'd increased. Elaine had doubled security around the facility, but she knew it was only a matter of time before someone made a move. "Captain," a voice called, breaking her thoughts. Elaine turned to see Lieutenant Area Novak approaching, her expression tense. "We've intercepted a signal," Novak said. "It's encrypted, but our analysts think it's coming from one of those cloaked ships. They're sending intel back to someone." Elaine's eyes narrowed. "Do we know what they're targeting?" Novak hesitated. "The signal mentions Project Erebus." Elaine clenched her fists. She'd expected sabotage, but hearing it confirmed sent a wave of anger through her. "Get a team on it. I want that signal traced and jammed. And increase security at all entry points. No one gets close to this facility." "Yes, ma'am," Novak said, snapping a sharp salute before hurrying off. Later that night, the first attack came. The facility was quiet, save for the hum of machinery and the faint chatter of exhausted workers. Most of the team had retired to their quarters, leaving only the night shift to monitor the project. Without warning, the alarms blared, bathing the lab in red light. Elaine, who had been reviewing reports in her office, bolted upright. Her communicator buzzed, and Novak's urgent voice came through. "Captain, we've got intruders. Multiple hostiles inside the perimeter. They've breached the West Wing." "I'm on my way," Elaine said, grabbing her sidearm and sprinting toward the chaos. By the time she reached the West Wing, Security personnel were already engaged in a firefight with sleek, humanoid drones. The intruders moved with inhuman precision, their glowing eyes scanning the room as they fired energy weapons that left scorched marks on the walls. "Fall back," Elaine shouted, taking cover behind a console. "Protect the drive at all costs." The drones advanced, their movements relentless, but humanity's defenders were equally determined. Elaine aimed her weapon and fired, striking one of the machines in the chest. It collapsed in a shower of sparks. "Captain," Novak yelled, sliding into cover beside her. "They're heading for the prototype." Elaine's heart pounded. If the intruders sabotaged the Erebus drive, humanity's dream of faster-than-light travel would be over before it began. "Reroute all available units to the hangar," she ordered. "We can't let them reach the ship." In the hangar, Dr. Rajesh Mehta and a handful of engineers worked frantically to secure the prototype. The massive vessel loomed above them, its hull gleaming under the bright lights. "We need more time," Mehta shouted as he tightened a panel on the drive's core. "If they damage this, we'll never recover." Suddenly, the hangar doors blasted open, and the drones poured in. Engineers scrambled for cover, but Mehta stood his ground, clutching a wrench like a weapon. "Stay back," he shouted, though he knew it was futile. Before the drones could advance, Elaine and her team burst into the hangar, weapons blazing. The fight was intense, with energy bolts and bullets flying in every direction. Elaine's sharp commands kept her team coordinated, and one by one, the drones fell. "Captain, look out!" Novak yelled. Elaine turned just in time to see a drone aiming at her. She dove to the side, the energy blast narrowly missing her. Novak returned fire, destroying the machine before it could shoot again. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the last drone was destroyed. The hangar fell silent, save for the crackling of damaged equipment. Elaine wiped sweat from her brow, her chest heaving as she surveyed the damage. The prototype was intact, but the facility had taken a beating. "Status report," she said, her voice steady despite the chaos. Mehta emerged from behind the drive, his face pale but determined. "The prototype is safe. They didn't get to it." Elaine nodded, relief washing over her. "Good work, everyone. Let's get this place locked down and repair the damage. We can't afford any more delays." Novak approached, her expression grim. "Captain, we traced the drone's programming. They weren't acting alone. Someone from the council sent them." Elaine's jaw tightened. "Let me guess. They don't want us to succeed." "More than that," Novak said. "They're scared of what we'll become if we do." Elaine stared at the prototype, its glowing core pulsing faintly. Humanity was on the brink of something extraordinary, but the galaxy wasn't going to make it easy for them. "Let them be scared," she said, her voice low and firm. "Because once we launch this ship, there won't be anything they can do to stop us." In the distance, the stars glittered coldly. Humanity was ready to defy the galaxy's expectations, and this was only the beginning. The hangar was alive with anticipation. Technicians buzzed around the gleaming prototype like bees around a hive, making last-minute adjustments and double-checking systems. The Starship stood tall, a testament to humanity's ingenuity. Its sleek, black frame seemed to drink in the light, and the faint hum of its core filled the air, a sound that promised something extraordinary. Captain Elaine Hayes walked briskly across the hangar floor, her uniform crisp and her expression unreadable. Though her exterior was calm, inside she was a storm of nerves. Today was the day. "Captain," Dr. Rajesh Mehta called, jogging up to her with a datapad in hand. His face was a mixture of excitement and anxiety. "All systems are green, but I'd be lying if I said I wasn't worried." Elaine raised an eyebrow. "Worried about what, Doctor?" "You've been telling me for weeks this would work." "It will work," Mehta said quickly, adjusting his glasses. "At least, the theory says it will. But theories don't always account for unforeseen variables." Elaine smirked. "Welcome to humanity's story, Doctor, we thrive on unforeseen variables. Meta chuckled nervously. Let's just hope we survive them. 2. The command center was packed with key personnel, each one glued to their stations as the countdown began. Monitors displayed the prototype ship, now resting on the launch pad outside the facility. The Erebus Drive's core pulsed faintly, a mesmerizing glow that seemed to echo with possibility. Lieutenant Aria Novak stood beside Elaine, her arms crossed and her face tight with concentration. We've swept the area 3 times, Novak reported. No sign of any hostile ships or drones. Good, Elaine said, though her instincts remained on edge. The sabotage attempt still lingered in her mind, and she couldn't shake the feeling that the galaxy wasn't done trying to stop them. Captain, one of the technicians called from their console. The ship's systems are online. We're ready for the test. Elaine took a deep breath and nodded. Open the comms. The technician tapped a few keys, and the speakers crackled to life. This is Captain Hayes to test pilot Daniels, Elaine said, her voice steady. Status report. A calm voice replied. This is Daniels. All systems are nominal. Pre-flight checks are complete. The Erebus Drive is standing by for activation. Elaine glanced at Meta, who gave her a small nod. Understood, Daniels. You have a go for launch. Godspeed. The countdown began, each number reverberating through the command center like the beat of a drum. 10, 9, 8. Outside, the prototype roared to life, its engines igniting with a fiery burst. The ground shook as the ship began to rise, hovering effortlessly above the launch pad. 5, 4, 3. In the command center, everyone held their breath. 2, 1. Launch. The prototype shot into the sky like a bullet, leaving a trail of fire in its wake. Elaine watched the monitor as the ship climbed higher and higher, her heart pounding. This was it, the moment that would determine humanity's future. As the ship reached the edge of Earth's atmosphere, Daniel's voice came through the comms. Entering orbit now. All systems are stable, preparing to engage the Erebus Drive. Elaine leaned forward, her eyes locked on the main monitor. This was the real test. Would the drive work, or would it fail spectacularly? Activating the Erebus Drive in 3, 2, 1. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the monitor flickered, and the ship vanished. Gasps filled the room. Technicians scrambled to check their instruments, their faces pale with confusion. Where is it? Novak asked, her voice sharp. Did it explode? Did it? Wait, Meta interrupted, his eyes wide as he studied the data streaming across his screen. It worked. The ship jumped. Elaine's heart skipped a beat. Jumped. To where? Before Meta could answer, the comms crackled again. Daniel's voice was breathless but triumphant. This is Daniels. The Erebus Drive is operational. I'm in the Proxima Centauri system. The jump was instantaneous. The room erupted in cheers, but Elaine remained focused. Daniels, confirm, you're in Proxima Centauri. Yes, Captain, Daniels replied. I can see the Proxima star. The drive worked perfectly. Elaine allowed herself a small smile. They'd done it. Humanity had achieved what the rest of the galaxy thought impossible. The celebration was short-lived. Captain, Novak said, her tone grim. We've got incoming signals. Multiple ships dropping out of FTL near Earth's orbit. Elaine's stomach sank. Council ships. Looks like it, Novak confirmed. And they're not hiding anymore. Elaine turned to the command center staff. Prepare for contact. They know what we've done, and they're not going to like it. Meta looked at her, his face pale. Do you think they'll try to stop us? Elaine's expression hardened. Let them try. We just proved we can outrun them. Now it's time to show them what humanity is really capable of. The stars outside seemed to shimmer with newfound purpose. Humanity wasn't just joining the galactic stage. They were rewriting the rules. And the galaxy wasn't ready for what was coming. The command center of the Galactic Council station floated in the blackness of deep space. Its polished surfaces gleamed under soft blue lights, a symbol of centuries of alien cooperation and peace. Representatives of dozens of species sat in the amphitheater-like chamber, their varied forms radiating unease. At the center of the room stood High Chancellor Virex, a tall, insectoid being with shimmering, chitinous plates. His multifaceted eyes scanned the assembled representatives, all murmuring in their native tongues. "Order!" Virex's voice echoed, amplified by the chamber's acoustics. The room quieted instantly. "We are here to discuss an event of unprecedented significance. The humans have done the impossible." A hologram flickered to life in the center of the room, displaying footage of humanity's prototype Starship. It showed the moment the ship vanished from Earth's orbit, only to reappear seconds later near Proxima Centauri. The room filled with gasps and startled chatter. "This is unacceptable," barked an avian representative, her feathers puffing in agitation. "Humans are reckless. Their existence alone disrupts the balance of the galaxy, and now they've created a technology that defies everything we know about faster-than-light travel. They cannot be trusted with such power," hissed a reptilian delegate, his scales glinting under the hologram's light. "Their history is filled with wars and destruction. If they spread this technology, chaos will follow." "Chaos," countered a smaller amphibian-like representative. "Or progress. The humans have achieved something none of us have even attempted in millennia. Should we not be studying their advancements rather than condemning them?" The room erupted into heated debate. Meanwhile, aboard Earth's orbital station, Captain Elaine Hayes watched the Council's incoming fleet approach on her monitor. Dozens of sleek alien ships surrounded Earth, their sheer size and power dwarfing anything humanity had in its arsenal. Lieutenant Aria Novak stood by her side, arms crossed. "That's an entire battle group. They're not here to negotiate, are they?" Elaine's jaw tightened. "They're here to intimidate us, but they don't understand humans." "They will soon," Novak muttered. Elaine turned to the communications officer. "Send a transmission to their flagship. Let's hear what they want." The officer nodded, and moments later, the screen flickered to reveal the imposing figure of High Chancellor Virex. "Captain Hayes," Virex began, his tone cold, "you have violated the natural order. The Galactic Council demands an immediate cessation of your experiments with the Erebus drive. Turn over your ship and research, or face the consequences." Elaine crossed her arms, meeting his gaze with steely resolve. "With all due respect, Chancellor, humanity answers to no one but itself. We didn't ask for your permission, and we certainly won't hand over our future." Virex's mandibles clicked in annoyance. "You misunderstand your position, human. The Council acts to preserve peace and stability. Your actions threaten both. You will comply, or Earth will suffer the consequences." Elaine's expression didn't waver. "Chancellor, let me explain something. Humanity has faced extinction more times than we can count. We've survived wars, plagues, and disasters. We've been underestimated by our own kind, let alone aliens like you, and every single time, we've risen stronger." Virex leaned closer to the screen, his tone sharp. "This is not a negotiation." Elaine smirked. "No, it's not. It's a warning. Don't mistake humanity's patience for weakness." Before Virex could respond, Elaine cut the transmission. In the council chamber, Virex seethed. "Arrogant," he muttered. "They've forced our hand." "Then what is to be done, Chancellor?" asked the avian representative. Virex raised a clawed hand. "We disable their technology. A demonstration of force will remind them of their place." The chamber murmured in agreement, though a few representatives exchanged uneasy glances. Back on Earth, the Erebus drive prototype was being prepared for a second test. Dr. Rajesh Mehta moved quickly through the hangar, his mind racing. He knew the Council wouldn't just sit idly by, but he hadn't expected their response to escalate so quickly. "Doctor," Elaine said, entering the hangar, "how soon can we launch?" Mehta hesitated. "The drive is ready, but we need more time to calibrate the systems for a sustained jump. We don't have time, Elaine said firmly. The Council's fleet is in orbit. If they decide to attack, we need to show them what this ship can do. Meta sighed, nodding reluctantly. We'll do our best, Captain. In orbit, the Council's fleet began to move. Massive cruisers positioned themselves around Earth, their weapons systems charging. Humanity's few defensive satellites were hopelessly outmatched, and every member of Earth's defense force knew it. Captain, Novak said urgently, entering the command room. We've detected a spike in their energy signatures. They're preparing to fire. Elaine's gaze hardened. Then it's time to give them something to think about. She opened a channel to the prototype's test pilot. Daniels, this is Hayes. Activate the Erebus drive and execute the jump. Show them exactly what they're afraid of. Yes, Mom, Daniels replied. As the alien fleet powered up their weapons, humanity's prototype ship roared to life. Its core glowed brighter and brighter, until it seemed to consume the entire vessel. Then, in a flash of light, the ship vanished, only to reappear seconds later directly behind the Council's flagship. Captain, Novak said, awe in her voice. They're right in the middle of the Council's fleet. Elaine smiled grimly. Message to the Council. This is only the beginning. For the first time, the galaxy had a reason to fear humanity, not because of their weapons, but because of their unyielding will to defy the odds. The Council's fleet hung ominously in orbit, their weapons ready to unleash destruction. The silence in the Galactic Council's flagship command room was deafening as their sensors confirmed what had just happened. The human prototype had jumped directly behind them, a feat that defied every known principle of faster-than-light travel. High Chancellor Virex stood motionless, his multifaceted eyes fixed on the hologram of the human ship hovering on their monitors. The room was filled with murmurs of disbelief among his officers. How did they? One officer began, but Virex raised a clawed hand to silence him. They didn't just break the rules. Virex hissed, his mandibles clicking in frustration. They've rewritten them. On board the human prototype, test pilot Daniels gripped the controls, his heart pounding. He was surrounded by ships that dwarfed his own in size and firepower. Yet at this moment, he knew the balance of power had shifted. Captain Hayes, Daniels said through the comms, his voice steady but laced with adrenaline. I'm in position. They weren't expecting this. In the Earth Command Center, Elaine Hayes smiled. The gamble had paid off. The Council had underestimated humanity's determination and ingenuity, and now they were on the defensive. Good work, Daniels, she replied. Hold your position. Let's see how they handle this. Back on the Council flagship, Virex barked orders. Surround that ship. Prepare to disable its systems. The Council's fleet moved with precision, their massive vessels closing in on the lone human prototype. But just as they were about to lock on their targeting systems, the Erebus drive activated again. In a flash, the prototype was gone, reappearing moments later on the opposite side of the fleet. Impossible, one of Virex's officers exclaimed. They're playing with us, another muttered, panic creeping into his voice. Virex's mandibles clicked in frustration. Enough. Target their planet. If they won't submit, we'll remind them of the consequences. The command was met with hesitation. Even among the Council's officers, there was unease about firing on a populated world. Do it. Virex snapped, his voice echoing through the chamber. Elaine watched the screens in the Earth Command Center as the Council's fleet shifted their focus back to the planet. Her stomach twisted in anger. They were ready to destroy an entire world just to make a point. Novak, she said sharply, what's the status of our orbital defense platforms? Not enough, Novak replied grimly. Even if we fire everything we have, we won't stop them before they hit us. Elaine clenched her fists. She refused to let humanity's moment of triumph end in tragedy. Turning to the communications officer, she issued a command. Patch me through to Daniels. I have an idea. In the cockpit of the prototype, Daniels listened carefully as Elaine laid out her plan. His eyes widened, but he didn't hesitate. "That's bold, Captain," he said, "but I like bold." "Can you do it?" Elaine asked. "Only one way to find out," Daniels replied with a grin. The Council fleet began to charge their weapons, their ships glowing ominously as they prepared to unleash devastation on Earth. Virex watched, his expression cold and unyielding. But then, without warning, the human prototype reappeared, this time directly in front of the Council flagship. "Are they insane?" one of Virex's officers exclaimed. "Target them now." Virex ordered, but before his crew could react, the prototype activated a new system. A blinding pulse of energy erupted from the ship, disrupting the sensors and communications of every Council vessel. The flagship shuddered violently as its systems went offline, plunging the command room into darkness. "What is happening?" Virex roared. "It's some kind of EMP," an officer shouted. "We've lost control." In the Earth Command Center, cheers erupted as the screens showed the Council fleet's disarray. Elaine allowed herself a small smile but remained focused. "Daniels, status." "Pulse was successful, Captain," Daniels replied. "Their ships are dead in the water, but I don't think they'll stay that way for long." Elaine nodded. "Then it's time to send a message." As the Council fleet scrambled to recover, a transmission from Earth interrupted their efforts. Elaine's face appeared on every screen across the fleet, her voice calm but resolute. "This is Captain Elaine Hayes of Earth. Your fleet is now vulnerable, and your weapons are offline. If we were as reckless as you claim, we could destroy you right now. But we won't, because we're better than that." She leaned forward, her gaze unyielding. "Leave our system and take your threats with you. Humanity has no interest in submission, and we will not be bullied. If you come back, we'll be ready. The choice is yours." On the Council flagship, Virex seethed with rage. But even he couldn't deny the truth. The humans had outmaneuvered them. His fleet was defenseless, and Earth's resolve was unshaken. "Withdraw," he growled reluctantly. As the Council fleet retreated, a wave of relief washed over Earth. The command center erupted into celebration, but Elaine remained composed. "This isn't over," she said quietly to Novak. "They'll be back." Novak nodded. "And we'll be ready." Elaine looked out at the stars. Humanity had taken its first steps into the galaxy, and they had proven they wouldn't be stopped. The future was uncertain, but one thing was clear. Humanity was here to stay. The stars above Earth shimmered like distant lanterns, their eternal light undisturbed by the events unfolding in the void. On the planet's surface, celebrations had already begun. Humanity had defied the might of the Galactic Council and lived to tell the tale. But in the heart of Earth's orbital station, Captain Elaine Hayes wasn't celebrating yet. She stood in the command room, surrounded by screens displaying real-time data of the retreating Council fleet. The exhilaration of victory was tempered by the knowledge that this was only the beginning. "Status report," she said, her voice steady. Lieutenant Area Novak tapped a console. "The Council ships are retreating beyond the Kuiper Belt. No signs of weapons reactivation or reinforcements. For now, it looks like they're standing down." Elaine exhaled softly, but kept her expression neutral. "For now," she echoed, "but they'll be back. Next time, they won't just send a battle group, they'll bring everything they've got." Novak frowned. "Then we need to make sure we're ready for everything they've got." On board the Council flagship, High Chancellor Virex fumed. His claws dug into the armrests of his command chair, the metallic surface groaning under the pressure. The humiliation of their defeat gnawed at him. "High Chancellor," an officer began hesitantly, "the humans' technology is far more advanced than we anticipated. We should reconsider our approach." "Reconsider?" Virex snapped, his mandibles clicking furiously. "You suggest we bow to these primitives? They've been a blight on the galaxy since they emerged. If we don't stop them now, they'll spread like a disease." The officer swallowed nervously. Their prototype is unlike anything we've encountered. If we can't counter their technology, then we take it from them." Virex interrupted. His multifaceted eyes gleamed with malevolence. "Prepare the council. I will demand a full mobilization. If the humans won't surrender, we'll ensure they never have the chance to defy us again." Back on Earth, the prototype's success had ignited a spark across the globe. News of the ship's performance and the council's retreat spread like wildfire. For the first time in generations, humanity felt a sense of unity. Dr. Rajesh Mehta stood in the hangar, marveling at the Erebus Drive prototype as technicians swarmed around it. Despite its success, there was still much to improve. "It's a beauty," Novak said, approaching him. "It's a miracle," Mehta corrected with a wry smile. "But miracles need refinement. The council will adapt. If they return, we'll need more than one ship to stand against them." Novak nodded. "The Defense Force is already working on a fleet. The designs you and your team provided, combined with what we've learned from this test, will make Earth a fortress." Elaine entered the hangar, her presence commanding attention. She approached Mehta and Novak, her expression thoughtful. "We don't just need a fleet," Elaine said. "We need alliances." "Aliens?" Novak asked, raising an eyebrow. Elaine nodded. "Not every species agrees with the Council. Some of them are probably watching us right now, wondering if they should join us or turn us in. We need to show them that humanity isn't just a threat. We're an opportunity." Mehta looked uncertain. "And how do we convince them?" Elaine smiled faintly. "By doing what humans do best, proving we're worth believing in." Days turned into weeks as Earth mobilized. Factories across the planet worked tirelessly to build new ships equipped with Erebus drives. Scientists collaborated on refining the technology, making it faster, safer, and more efficient. Elaine and her crew prepared for their next mission, a diplomatic venture to seek allies among the stars. They knew the risks, but humanity couldn't stand alone forever. As the prototype ship was readied for its next journey, Daniel stood in the cockpit, his hands resting on the controls. The Erebus drive hummed with potential, its glow a constant reminder of humanity's leap into the unknown. "Ready to make history again?" Elaine asked, stepping into the cockpit. Daniels grinned. "Always." Far from Earth, in the shadow of a distant star, a secret meeting took place. Representatives of alien species opposed to the Council gathered in a hidden enclave. "The humans have shaken the Council," said a tall, willowy being with translucent skin. "Their technology is unlike anything we've seen. If they can resist the Council, perhaps we can too." "They are unpredictable," another alien warned, his voice deep and resonant. "But their defiance gives us hope. Perhaps it's time we reached out." Back on Earth, the prototype ship launched again, disappearing in a flash of light as it activated its Erebus drive. This time, its mission wasn't just to explore, it was to unite. Elaine watched the stars blur into streaks of light as the ship jumped. Her heart swelled with pride and determination. Humanity had stepped into the galaxy, not as conquerors, but as pioneers. The Council might return, stronger and angrier than before, but humanity wasn't the same species they had dismissed. They were innovators, survivors, and dreamers. As the ship emerged from its jump, a massive alien station came into view, its lights twinkling like distant stars. Elaine smiled. "Let's make some friends," she said. The galaxy was vast and filled with challenges, but humanity was ready. The stars were no longer just points of light. They were destinations, and humanity was determined to reach them all.